to say is, well, where's the gravity? Where's the center of gravity in this person?
Yeah.
What do we come back to any kind of thing? Sometimes with people it's really clear. Other times it's more of a challenge. But it's fun. It's time consuming and all the rest of it. But it's kind of fun to see if you can capture, to take these words and turn that into something that approximates this aspect of their photography.
I'm definitely not one of those, the artist types that that can talk about their photography in a deeper sense. I find that kind of weird. I don't relate to that, as that more aloof sort of artist type of person. I don't see things in my images. I don't obviously see that it resonates from my personality or anything like that. It must do in some regards, but
when you think about it, you can point your camera anywhere, but you choose to point it someplace. So that's a choice. So that's whether you have a whole philosophy wrapped around that.
It's a philosophy thing. I don't feel like I have, but I do have a visual preference, and I have a way of post-processing. I probably have a style, although it's not obvious to me. I do like seeing a collection of work and seeing consistency through it, and I'm not sure where
do you
how
find
consistent my work is.
Do you find looking back at your work that you see any pattern or trend at all?
Definitely. I definitely see progression. I'm always striving to do something different and perfect what I do. I'm very critical of my own work. And there probably is pattern in just in what I like and who I'm influenced by at the time, or what I'm influenced by. I always try and stay away from those influences. If I notice myself being influenced, I get angry because I don't want to follow a fashion, but then it's sometimes it's difficult not to, and so I'm always wary of trying to do these things that other people are doing. And that's the likes of the Orton effect or light bleeding just now. Post-production techniques. Orton's been around for a long time, but. That's definitely a fashion, and I use it, but try and use it tastefully, and but try and avoid it if possible.
Well, I think photography, as we were saying earlier, it's always had these kind of fads or trends or whatever. It's kind of characteristic of what it is. I think it just does that, and
it's a visual art,
and then you can look back. You give it 20 years, you'll be able to pick the decade.
It's
when you're in the decade, you could never pick the decade.
It's bizarre.
It is.
And you can see that, I think, you look at some photos and even photographers that don't evolve, you might look at them and think that's old-fashioned. It's definitely it's their style, and it's been carried on for a long time, and it's not evolved. But then you have other people that are just always evolving, and have been in the industry for a long time. So.
And I think that there's some people who are happy to recreate the same set of images, and other people who kind of are restless.
That's it. It's restlessness, and that's definitely a personality trait of me. I had one of the questions I was going to ask you is like, if you turn up at a scene. And you've got the camera and you're kind of in photograph taking mode. Do you tend to kind of pick out the angle pretty quickly? You tend to kind of see it. I see it and then go around it. And then come back to it. So I think things click into place. Like visually, I know that works or not, and that's just through experience and shooting for so long. At least what works for you anyway. It's still subjective, and but then when I go home, my wife always asks, "Did you get anything you like?" And I always say no. I'm never happy.
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah. And I, sometimes I do go, oh, I've definitely got something, but very rarely.
Yeah, and have you ever found yourself proven wrong, where you've come back from a day and thought, nah, there's nothing in that? And you
all the time.
I'll
Yeah,
work on this, and then after a while, you kind of go, that's actually.
Yeah. I should be more happy with myself. No, absolutely.
It's kind of come together a bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, generally, I always find something that I'm happy with. Just very rarely I go out and shoot. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just that when I capture them, I just don't, I don't see it. And then it's when you start looking at it in Photoshop and you see what works. I need it on a big computer screen to say, the composition works there, or there's some potential in that, and then I'll basically take it into Photoshop to spend 15-20 minutes on it, and then chuck it away if it's not working, or 15-20 minutes, and then go, okay, this has got something, I'll come back to it.
So you tend to winnow to this habit that you had when you said you were first starting out of kind of having a continuously updating Rolodex of images that you were they're kind of your current faves.
I did that in Photoshop. I mean, I reprocessed my entire library of images, not every single image, all my good ones that I displayed on the website. I've reprocessed hundreds of photos and reprocessed them again and reprocessed them again. So I've gone back to original raw files and just throw away what I've done after learning new techniques, and then revisited it. So I mean, I really did spend a lot of time in Photoshop to learn it and to progress, and to every time I felt like I was better, I would delete my old stuff and start again.
That's interesting. That you probably heard that quote. I think it's credited to Adams. Certainly, he used it when I saw him. And that the negatives a score, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that you can perform it lots of different ways, and so it's interesting to think of what you're doing in a way. It's kind of going over those scores again, and going, well, you know what, this could be. I wonder how it would be now with what I know now. Yeah,
different interpretations as well, and different, and obviously with your age and where you are, you're culturally, or things change and your influences change, and you might process it differently. Even with the same knowledge of Photoshop, depends on the day as well.
Oh yeah, there's that too, isn't there? Kind of that mood and the sort of that you're in. It's going to be reflective of that.
And again, I try. I don't want to be influenced by that always as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting pressure you put yourself under there.
Yeah, absolutely. I put myself under pressure.
Yeah.
And it's completely made up. It's so stupid.
Is there, if you think about your background as an engineer, and has there been can you see anything that you've brought to your approach to photography that you can see it in your engineering, or comes out of that experience? For example, maybe the methodical way you proceed toward an image is analogous to solving a problem in an
analytical way of approaching things. I think that's definitely, I try and explore all different aspects of something to try and finesse. So I definitely, I think that's part of being critical and taking an analytical approach. That's definitely from an engineering mind. So it definitely, I guess it does come through my work, but not necessarily consciously.
Right. Yeah. But it would be evident in all sorts of things, like the way you approach photographing, and then in particular once you're using Photoshop, then I would presume that.
Yeah. It's just the way I learn as well. It's probably more the way I learn.
Right.
And figuring things out. It's just by breaking things and trying different things and experimentation.
Do you keep notes or do anything like that about with any of your work? Like if you're working on something, do you keep track of the process at all?
No.
Right.
I think the layers reveal the story.
That's the story there.
Yeah, the story's there, and you can reverse engineer these things, and and then sometimes you go, why did I do that? Like it's kind of a weird way to do things, and but yeah.
So show me some of the pictures.